I am Doomsvince, and this is day 131 of Spawn Year.
Today I had an enormous bout of deja vu. The first episode of Spawn Season 2 is painfully slow, mercilessly dull, and it doesn't accomplish nearly as much as it could in the time allotted. It relies entirely on its theme to carry the story, rather than focusing on interesting and logical character dynamics and using those to organically explore its theme. McFarlane once again opens the episode, letting us know what the Pee Wee Herman-esque word of the day is. This time it's betrayal. Can you say betrayal, kids? And then Spawn fights Chapel, who betrayed him, and Terry starts snooping around on Wynn's computer system and betrays him. It doesn't examine that concept in any insightful way, like an episode last season examined Evil's use of idle hands. It's just there. I feel like I'm reviewing Spawn or something. To date, this is now the most faithful effort in bringing both the pacing and tone of the comics to this series, and I'd give up my copy of the original Mario Kart for that to just be a misfire. The other 6 episodes were so much denser with material than this. This is just kind of dense, period. Wynn wants his guns back, and he's tracked them to the alleys, so he sends Chapel to find them. I do like that Chapel questions why they're so important. They've got plenty of guns, and Wynn doesn't want them traced back to him. That I don't get. They were broken out of a secured government-owned bunker he's responsible for. Yes, he has secret overseas projects. He's trying to incite wars, I think, in the Middle East. But how would these particular weapons being connected to him reflect negatively on him? And then we have to endure Chapel torturing a homeless guy for information while Spawn hides in the shadows just long enough for Chapel to pick up a broken bottle and provide some of that trademark gratuitous violence that's apparently the only reason anybody watches this show. It sure isn't skimping on that while it's abandoning all that well-thought-out storytelling. I gave Spawn a pass when he was hesitating so long to help innocent people last season because the show convinced me he was conflicted about what he wanted to be, but he just finished a character-defining arc and made a profound choice to be the hero over the emotion-driven killer. This episode remembers that when it wants to, even knowing now that Chapel, his best friend, killed him, he chooses not to kill him by story's end. Doesn't even cut his face off like in the comics. Happily, the parallel of each man drafted as a sentinel for evil is still present, and I like that it's consistent in Spawn choosing to be the better man. With Clown laughing all the while, Spawn is fighting his dreadful master, while his foil, Chapel, gave in completely years ago, and there's no turning back for him. Ironic that Al Simmons has died, and there's more hope for him than for Chapel, a man who gave up his soul just like Al did, but for nothing more than the joy of killing. Most of this is fighting and flashbacks, generic, trite flashbacks that tell us nothing new, and several we've already seen, except that Spawn can apparently mind meld people by suffocating them with his cape. We see him and Chapel working together, Al having reservations about Chapel's non-discriminating killing at war, and we hear Chapel's tagline over and over, "Speak up if you want to be heard," which he says to Al while setting him ablaze. These flashbacks are incredibly sloppy because the big revelation that Chapel was just pretending to be Al's friend and Wynn hired him from the beginning to kill Al doesn't even come to Al with the flashes. He doesn't piece them together or anything. Chapel has to come out and say it. I wouldn't complain about that, except the flashes keep happening over and over again, and they serve no purpose. There's no story told with them, just images we can mostly deduce from the dialogue in the present. It's also impossible much of the time to tell whose perspective the memories are from, as both Chapel and Spawn seem to be experiencing them. Spawn is naturally hurt and angry, and his vengeance on Chapel is satisfied at the end when Chapel goes mad at the unavoidable conclusion that Al has come back from the dead, and he sees everyone he's ever killed everywhere he looks. Is this a sudden psychosis, or is it something Spawn mystically planted in his brain? Like many defeats of villains in the comics, this story, too, isn't concerned with the details, though to be fair, there might be something to be said in a case like this for leaving some of the answers a mystery and letting the viewer draw his own conclusions. But only if Spawn was unaware if he's poisoned Chapel's mind. We need to be in our main character's head. And then I'd hope not to see Spawn keep beating the bad guys with no clue how he did it, as he repeatedly does in his print stories. Regardless, I can't tell if Chapel has any remorse for those killings or if Spawn just made him lose it. Last season, he was looking for any kind of relief from his unbearable grief, having murdered his best friend. He's literally haunted by the past here, but the Chapel I met earlier would probably have apologized to Al. Despite otherwise being a monster, his last shred of humanity was his guilt over Al's death, and it was the only reason I had to be remotely interested in what happened to him. Maybe he really did develop a kinship with Al, and it tore him apart when the time finally came to follow Wynn's orders. You'd never know it here. He never brings it up. He seems just generally freaked out by the supernatural, and that's just not as interesting. I was thoroughly disappointed with this one. It was written by a new team of writers, the first with multiple credits, and I hope to see McElroy return. Perhaps I'm being a tad too hard on it, though. Todd didn't tell me to turn off my lights this time like he always did before, and so I didn't. Maybe that makes all the difference. Signed, Captain Logan.